Hello, hello. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt, and I host this YouTube channel called Get Organized at Work, as well as the podcast by that same name. I love helping professionals organize themselves, find new tools that are helpful, and most importantly, create systems that help them prevent burnout and be efficient without doing more. So today, I want to show you this awesome OneNote project and task management notebook that I've made for you. I am pumped about this. It's meant to be a one-stop shop for you to look at your performance, your standard work, manage your tasks, keep notes, keep track of projects, keep track of your different areas or departments that you manage, archive anything that is not serving you anymore, and keep track of resources that you need or templates that you need at a quick glance. So we're going to walk through all of that today. I'm going to show you how this looks in the app of OneNote. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you're using it within Teams and some cool extra functionality you might find there, as well as how it might look when you're actually in the browser. So if you are interested in recreating this for yourself, you can kind of take my ideas and make it yourself in OneNote. Absolutely. If you're like, oh, this is really cool and it's already done, I'm happy to provide it to you. You can grab it from me in the link in the description below if you think that's going to be helpful for you to just kick it off and get started using this. It's a great time to start using it too, because I do have some annual dashboards I'm going to show you where I walk you through, like, this is how you tidy up the year, end the year with your self-assessment, and how do we begin a new year. So just to show you the high level, we do have a dashboard section, which is meant for you to have a daily or weekly touch point. Basically, I envision you sitting down to work at your desk. You're like, oh, I'm going to kick off the week. How do I want this week to go? So you're going to start out in this daily dashboard. I also have monthly dashboards where I help you sort of assess the month, check in on your goals and all that. We can talk about that. Like I mentioned, I have some annual workflows that we'll go through to help you tidy the year and help yourself with your performance appraisal and hopefully getting a promotion by showing the value that you bring to the organization. I have a whole performance tab with all of the templates that you might need to do this. We are going to talk through leader standard work, how to use it, what it's for. I have a section on tasks to brain dump, how to sort them and prioritize them, a note section for your ideas, one-on-one meetings and recurring meetings, just normal meetings. I also have a project section where I talk about how to use this section, how to manage projects, communicate them, keep track of them, how to use A3 thinking for problem solving around projects, and how I would organize projects if I was going to use this, which I do. And then areas, which is just your specific area of focus that is ongoing, whether it's a department you manage, or maybe it's a product category, or maybe it's a vendor you work with or a client, how to organize those areas for efficiency, as well as how to keep your resources quick at hand, some ideas of what you could be keeping, as well as all the templates duplicated in here, plus some, so that you can easily pull, duplicate, copy these for when you need them, as well as an archive section when you want to put things you're no longer needing at a quick glance. All right, so let's talk about the daily, weekly dashboard. Like I said, I'm imagining you're sitting down to do your work and you want to decide, how is the week gonna go? And so the way I have this dashboard created is that we have okay, what is my focus or leadership intention this week? And I have some prompts. What does success look like by Friday? What am I intentionally deprioritizing this week? Also, throughout the notebook, you'll see there is sort of gray text here. Anytime I have that, this is where I'm sort of explaining how to use this section or giving you ideas about what to write, maybe some extra prompts for you. So if you like that sort of thing, I find like that is going to make this really user-friendly and guiding you through, like, how would I use this section? So we set our intention for the week. I know for me, I also love to have dates in front of me, like due dates, non-negotiables, things that I know are coming up, so they don't sneak up on me. So you can list them here as they happen. You can check them off, cross them off, just so you don't forget. As well as I have a decision parking lot. So as a leader, I know I get a lot of questions, or I know that I'm asked to make decisions frequently or make sure others make decisions. And so being really honest with myself, so I keep track of those, I don't forget about them. Are there any decisions I'm avoiding? Is it because I need more information or I'm waiting? And what am I committing to finishing by the end of the week? So that's sort of the meat and potatoes of this daily dashboard. Then you'll see I have these buttons along the top, as well as some quick link buttons on the bottom. So we're going to talk about all those sections. But what's really nice is, like, let's say you're in the dashboard and you want to look at your leader standard work. You can click that and it's going to take you into another section of the notebook. So you don't have to like dig around to be like, oh, what section is it? It's one click, which is really nice. And the way that if you're building this on your own, that you would change that is you would just hover over the item that you want to link. Let me give that a shot here without messing up my link. And then just go to insert. And then, oh, because I'm hovered weird, it's going to be weird. But insert link. And then this one is actually an external link. I've linked to my Outlook calendar. But if you were going to pick let's say a section in the notebook, you would just go here and be like, oh, I wanted to link to this notes section. Select it here, and then it's going to add that link. I'm going to cancel out of it because I don't want to change it, but it's super simple to do. The reason it didn't like it when I had it hovered is because I already had a link there. But if it wasn't, let's say using this word, insert link, and then we can select. So super easy, really nice, a nice upgrade. OneNote used to not be that simple. So I've tried to make each of these look like buttons by making them into like little boxes of a table. So let's say you're like, oh, I love this idea. I want to make a new section and I want to make a new button. All you would do is type whatever you want it to say. You can add pictures, emojis, highlight it, and then do table, insert, and I just do one by one. And then it's outlined, which is pretty cool. And then all you have to do is click on it or hover inside of it, and then you can make the button a different color. It's totally up to you. And you can change the color of this font. You can make it a heading if you want to. So that's how I created those buttons if you're doing this yourself. Super simple, kind of low tech, but it works really well. So what I have is linked is leader standard work. We're going to talk about that. If you ever work with me, you know how it goes. Like I said, I've linked to my calendar. So it's going to like go here to my calendar. This is a custom link that you can do for yourself. I have tasks and to-dos linked because this is something that is going to be frequent that you're going to be looking at every day. I have your projects section linked so you can look at your active projects regularly, as well as sometimes you just have great and shiny ideas you don't want to forget. A section where you can just save it here for the future, for when you're inspired. Maybe it's an idea you want to come back to later. So that's the top buttons. Quick links are the areas as well as the meeting notes. So let me just go over this. Project Areas, Resources, and Archive is actually an acronym for PARA, and it's not something I made up on my own. It's actually called the PARA method by Tiago Forte. And in their book, they wrote about organizing your digital life with these 4 sections: projects, areas, resources, and archives. So we'll dive more into that. So I was like, this is a great idea. I'm going to level up on that. And I did build in projects, areas, resources, and archive into this notebook. And so areas down here would be, let me use myself as an example. I'm a lab manager and I manage 3 different lab areas. So for example, my area 1 could be blood bank. My second one could be cell therapy, right? So you could name it. Maybe you're a patient care unit supervisor in your area. Maybe you want it to be staffing, and another one you want it to be budget, right? So you can kind of see like how you can customize the name of those, or however your brain thinks about managing those. For me, I might do an area of, let's say, it should go to area 1, department A. Let's say I'm doing blood bank, and then area 1 subpage might be, this is where I keep things related to budget. And then this is where I keep things related to FTEs or staffing. So I've kind of gone into areas are just ongoing responsibilities that don't end, right? So it's finance, or it's that department. You can even save emails in here from your Outlook and send them directly to OneNote. I'm going to show you how to do that in a little bit. So I've kind of gone over how I might make sub pages related to important emails, meeting notes, resources, budgets, somewhere to keep all the information together, because the great thing about OneNote, it's very searchable. So I felt like quick links was a great spot to have your areas. You can move these around. If you're making these yourself, you just pick up the box and move it to wherever you want it to be. So that's really user friendly. Down here, I've also linked meeting notes, one-on-one meeting notes, and recurring meeting notes. So let's just look at this notes section while we're talking about it. So I already talked about having notes for your ideas. I also have a section for one-on-one meetings with direct reports. So this is not just a section like, hey, put your notes here. I've gone and been really thoughtful about what to put in this section, and I have 3 different templates for you. So they're linked here. So I have a one-on-one meeting structure with direct reports leader guide. So this is really explain to you that this is how I would structure my one-on-ones and sort of a baseline for how you can set them up, the structure, the cadence, what to talk about, how to talk about it. I also have a prep checklist for your direct reports. So if you're leading folks and they're meeting with you as their leader, they might not know what to bring up. They might think they just need to bring status updates, but you can coach them to be really smart about being prepared to meet with you, to bring barriers to escalate, and to showcase their wins. And so if you want to, you can take this prep checklist that I've put in here and just share it with them. And for example, I did a whole podcast episode on how direct reports love to just say, oh, I'm so busy. And as a leader, you're like, well, I can't really help you unless I understand what that means. And so coaching them through saying things like, okay, here's what's going on, or I want to flag that I may need help with prioritizing or pausing a task to stay on track. So helping them tell you what they need. So I've sort of taken the work out of it for you, given you a simple guide that you can give to them. And then to take things a step further, I do have a one-on-one meetings template for direct reports, showcasing the structure, what you might say to them, how you capture notes, what things that you might want to do, like ask them things or give kudos or recognition, and then keep track of action items. So those are the templates. And then further, this is how I would structure it. So let's say I have a one-on-one with a girl whose name is also Kayla. So I would say Kayla one-on-one meeting. So this is Kayla's section. And then from there on out, I would put the meeting template here, which I've linked for you. And then I would just categorize it by date. So I'd be like, okay, January 13th, 2026, Kayla one-on-one. And that's how I'd keep track. For leaders, this is really important because we get a lot of information coming at us, and so do our direct reports. And so it's nice to be able to reference these, especially if you have an issue down the road and you need to check back, or you want to look back for performance review purposes for positive things that were talked about, remembering recognitions, etc. Inside this notes page, I also have a section for recurring meetings, and I didn't put a template in here for you because most organizations have a standard meeting agenda. So you could just copy and paste it in here. Sometimes companies have a location where meeting notes are already held in a central location. So if it makes sense for you, you can just link to those. The other really cool trick I wanted to share with you about OneNote is that you can actually use templates. So they have some. You can do insert page templates. And then let's say you want to use their informal meeting notes template, and it's going to create one for you. It might not be your favorite template, but you can adjust it and go from there. So it gives you some ideas for what to use for a meeting template. So that's the notes section. All right, I've gone over recurring meeting notes. So yeah, what's cool is like maybe this week or on a regular basis, you have a meeting that happens often and you want to link to those meeting notes. Or for example, I know I have a huddle that happens every single day, and it's important that I go in and make my updates before that meeting happens. Maybe I want to just link out to that because it's easier than instead of me fishing for the link. So that's what this daily/weekly dashboard is all about. It's meant to capture things for the day and for the week. All right. So then if we come here, monthly, this monthly dashboard is to help you kind of think about your performance every month or 12 times a year to set you up for success for your performance review. So I do have some templates in the My Performance section that I want to talk about now, but I want to show you that this dashboard is standard every month, that it's reminding you what templates in this OneNote to use and what to do, whether it's reviewing them or updating progress or archiving things, sort of like cleanup and maintenance of your system. So I've tried to build in some behaviors of standard work to keep this notebook clean and usable. So we will talk about the performance items next that are going to be linked here in the monthly dashboard to check on. So my performance, one of the biggest, most important things I teach on my podcast and that I like to teach professionals is you can do all these amazing things throughout the year, but if you haven't kept track of your progress or your goals, or actually met the goals you set, or even set goals, then maybe you won't actually get the review that you want. You might be doing all these great things, but you haven't been focused and you haven't kept track of what's going well. And oftentimes we aren't great at sitting down and celebrating our wins, and we forget to celebrate. And so I built this performance section to help make sure that you don't forget to look up for yourself, because we ultimately get raises and promoted based on our annual performance review. And it's the one thing that we can use to say, yeah, we moved the needle this year and did great things. So first of all, I love this annual goals template. I'm keeping it super simple. So on a monthly basis, you'd want to review your goal progress and update the status for yourself. And this happens to be a really simple, great template that you can copy and paste into an email, or just share this link out to your OneUp leader to say, here's where I'm at with my goals for the year, if that's something that they're really interested in. Then at the end of the year, oftentimes professionals are asked to write their own self-assessment of their goal progress for their leader for their annual performance review. So you can use my annual performance or self-assessment template that I will share with you to assess, how did I do with these goals? So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But this is really simple. It's just the goal area category. For example, like I said, I work in healthcare, so patient safety might be the goal area. The goal name, for example, line infection reduction initiative. A SMART goal would be reducing line infections in our patients by 10% by 12/31/26. And then here you can list the performance metrics. So the worst thing would be if you come to the end of the year, you do some amazing work, but you never figured out, well, what is the measure? Like, how am I going to measure this? And so you've got to know, how am I going to know that I reduced by 10%? So thinking about that. But then also, how would you rate yourself? And different organizations have different ways to rate professionals. Mine happens to have 5. So there's exceptional, exceeds, acceptable, below expectations, and then not meeting expectations or something like that. And so you would want to define, okay, acceptable would mean that, I met my goal, but maybe exceeds is like, I met my goal early. And then exceptional could be like, I met my goal early, plus I did this extra thing, or what have you. So this is a way to take control of the performance rating you get, because we often know that those ratings translate into a percentage of money or promotion at the end of the year during the next year. So don't avoid this step. Make it really clear and be realistic. And you can change this goal, the direction of goals throughout the year. At least that's what I practice on my team. It's all about like heading in the right direction. And so if we need to pivot, it's good that we look at this more than once a year, which is why I have you looking at it monthly. So you can add status notes like, oh, here's the current metrics, I'm on track, or here are my next questions, just sort of keeping track of where you're at. Sometimes I find that people never look at their goals, and then it's December and they're like, oh no. And then it's kind of hard to backtrack. So don't let that be you. The other template I love in here, which has helped me be promoted over the years, is a value to impact promotion template, or you can just think of it as a value template. It's really thinking about, okay, what did I do that added value or demonstrated value to our organization? What's the return on investment, and what was the impact? When you go to ask for a raise or show that you're ready for the next level, it's not good enough generally to say, I did great things or I met my goals. Executives want to know, different type of data, like I reduced risk to the organization, or I increased growth to the organization, or I saved money to the organization. Some tangible, or maybe doesn't have to be super tangible, but some sort of impact that we can demonstrate or communicate. It's so much better to say, I streamlined X process, reducing turnaround times by 30%. I mean, that is so powerful to be able to say something like that in a concise manner. And that's something that on a monthly basis, as you accomplish goals or as you make impact, add it to the value list. It doesn't even have to be this intense. It could just be, I increased communication on my team by implementing this stand-up huddle or this workflow. And because of that, we are more effective and we've reduced overtime, right? Like something like that is really important, that you can articulate the value that you bring to the org instead of just like, I deserve to go to the next level. I also have a joy folder or wins/kudos section. I love this section because it's sort of like an area where you can brag about yourself or remind yourself of the good things that happened this year. Mostly to me, this would just be like copy paste from emails that people have sent you. This is one that I sent directly to myself from Outlook. So I was going to show you guys how to do that if you don't already know how. All right, so here's the new email that I sent to myself. You can go to more apps, send to OneNote. It's going to open this pane and then you can find your notebooks. You can see I've already sent one to the My Performance tab, but you can find it in here by expanding it and then finding the right tab or section. At work, my Outlook actually lets me choose which page within the section to put it in. I don't know why this view is a little bit different, but you get the picture. You can play around with it and it's pretty cool. So check it out. Now, when I go to this section, it should have my email here. Let's see if it's going to update. Oh, and you know what happened? I put it in the wrong section. I selected projects instead of performance. So I'm going to move it over here. That's what happens, but that's okay. I found it. So you can just make this a sub page, however much you want. And so now my new thank you email is saved here for me to check back when I want to remember the value and the joy and the thank yous and the wins and things like that I can use in my performance later in the year. So that's what's in the My Performance section. So if we look at the annual, I talked about the monthly check-in. Monthly check-in would be add to your value and impact template, review any kudos, thank yous, or wins for your team or for yourself, add those to the joy folder. And again, these are all linked, which is pretty cool. You can check these off as you do it. Review your progress on your personal annual goals, linked right to that. You can review progress on projects or area team goals, which we're going to talk about next, and archive anything you no longer need, and do a little bit of a reflection. How am I doing? Am I feeling fulfilled? Am I on track or behind? Do I need any support? Am I looking for more growth and development? What do I need to be successful for next month? So this is awesome. You can do this every single month, and it's going to keep you highly, highly on track for the year. I'll come back to this annual dashboard. You get the picture. It links out to My Performance and has all these templates. I'll come back to it because I want to talk about it after we look at the other sections like projects and area team goals. Let's now talk about the Leader Standard Work template. So if you've been following me for a while, you know I am the queen. I love Leader Standard Work. Like that is my motto if I had to pick one. And the reason why is that it creates awareness for your schedule. It helps you level load and kind of figure out like, where am I too bogged down? Am I in too many meetings? And did I actually go to everything I said I was going to go to? It helps you learn and adjust. And so I will link some of those videos in the show notes. And if you are using Leader Standard Work, how this works is on a weekly basis, you'd look ahead at your calendar and you'd fill in, okay, I have a meeting at 2 p.m. It's 1.5 hours, the name of the meeting, and it's every day. I hope you don't have a 1.5 hour meeting every day, but you never know. You put an X here if you went to it or an O if you didn't. Why it's called standard work is because you're setting a standard for yourself or putting a standard for yourself at a certain level to do these recurring habits. It's not because your work has to be the same as everyone else's. It just means you're holding yourself to a certain standard. And you can use reflection questions at the end of the week to sort of see, what did I accomplish? Where do I want to change? Do I want to say I can't make this meeting anymore? Do I want to request a different meeting time? This helps you be really proactive in your leadership. So standard work includes sort of your daily habits, like the meetings, like the check-ins, the emails, all of that. Weekly standard work usually does include some recurring meetings that happen weekly, but it also might include strategic work, like, oh, I'm going to build time into my calendar, time block time to work on a strategic goal or project or area that I have during the week. And then monthly is usually some sort of meeting that happens once a month or a habit. So for example, I know once a month I need to review my financials and kind of see what variances I have. I want to make sure I don't forget that I'm going to do that. So I'm going to hold myself to a standard of putting this on for whatever week, whenever it's occurring. If the day is Tuesday the 13th and that meeting is today, I would expect that I'd have an X there. If not, then I can ask myself, what went well? Where did opportunities occur? And I can look at the week. What got me excited? What drained me? Did I meet any of my goals for the week? Maybe if I did, why? If not, why? What can I experiment with next week? What is my intention or focus for next week? So this feeds really into the dashboard that I showed you. And it also just helps you create an awareness of, what am I doing on a weekly and a daily basis? Oftentimes leaders will tell me they're so overwhelmed, and I'm like, okay, well, let's go over what you're working on. And they're like, oh, I don't know. It just feels overwhelming. We don't have it on paper. We're kind of working from Post-it notes in our calendar and from our inbox. And this helps you kind of put it in one spot and create awareness for yourself. Over time, these habits will become so habitual that you may not need to write them down or document them. But until you make that change or you figure out what works for you, it's nice to have a template. I always teach that I like to have less than 50% of my days blocked in meetings, whether that's with internal or external facing clients or folks. And I know that's not possible for everyone, but for me, when I get overloaded with meetings like that, or more than 50%, I know that it's really hard for me to accomplish my work. And so that's when I can start trying to move around things, decline meetings, talk to my leader and let them know, hey, this is not sustainable. And so either we got to take something off my plate or I need to kind of level load and adjust. So it helps to have those conversations with your leader as well. So that's what leader standard work is. So how I'd organize it is I'd have whatever the date, maybe the week of 1/12, and then standard work. And I'd create one of these every week just by doing copy and then paste. Easy peasy. All right, let's move on to the task list. So for me, I know as a leader, I'll be in meetings or I'll get an email or something like that, and I have a task or and I don't really know what I need to do with it yet, right? Like I just have them in my brain and I need to essentially dump them out, or I'm writing them in a notebook. And so I don't forget about them, I will just dump them or capture them all in one spot, just in a very organized / unorganized list like this. And then at the end of the day, or when I have time, I'll go back and be like, okay, is this something I need to do? Is this something I need to delegate? Is it for this week? For next week, is it something I need to schedule, or is it more of a just do it? So to help my brain with that, I love having this capture space where I can dump it. And then I also have this template for you, which is called a sorting template. So it's a great way to determine whether the tasks or ideas that come to you get prioritized. And if they do, what's the next step? So you can ask yourself, okay, does this need immediate energy for me? Do I schedule this, delegate this? Is it a future idea, or is it we're not going to do it? And so you can take your list and sort of categorize it this way. This kind of helps my brain or helps me think through, is this thing really necessary? And if so, who is the best person to do that? And then once you've done that, you can plug and play into wherever you keep track of tasks. Maybe it is in a OneNote note, and once this thing is done, you check it off. Or maybe it's more you're using Microsoft Planner or the Microsoft To-Do app. this guy. Maybe you're using some sort of feature in Outlook. Maybe you're using a Kanban board, but this is just a way for you to capture items and then put them wherever they need to go. I would say that having something like this has really saved me, because often I'll have like a different notebook on a different day, depending on the bag I grab or something like that. And it's really easy to lose notes. All right. I've already gone over the notes section when it comes to my ideas, one-on-one meeting notes, and all the templates. So let's skip it. Projects, I have an about projects page, and it's about a piece of work that you're spending energy on over time, but it also has a start and an end, right? A project usually is for a certain amount of time until a certain goal is achieved. So I give you some ideas of what each project page could include, like the purpose, the desired outcome, notes, decisions made, and you can sort of keep those as subpages however you see fit. I also included an A3 projects template that you can copy and paste and adapt for your projects. Oftentimes, project managers will use this to kind of work through, okay, what's the current state? What's the future ideal state? And what's that gap? And how do we close that gap with countermeasures? So I created an A3 template that you can use here in OneNote. So it's right here. And so you can see all the sections: the background, current state, problem statement, root cause, target state, countermeasures, all that jazz. It's basically a plan or an A3 on a page, but inside OneNote. So I love it. So you would just kind of copy this. If you wanted it to be under project A, let's say, you can move it, and now it's underneath, and you can rename it as like project A, whatever that would be. So I'm going to delete it since we don't need it there. The other item in here is the active project list. This is probably one of my favorite templates. It's super simple, and it kind of reminds me of the goal page that we went through. But the primary purpose of this list is it can be used as a communication tool that you can share with your leader for quick updates and escalations. It's also really helpful for yourself to keep a running list or a high-level overview of your projects, or you can share it with any other stakeholders that might request status updates. So I don't think it's the most necessary tool, because you could just show them, let's say, your Kanban board, or show them your A3, or show them your goal progress. I do think it's one of the more cleanest and the more clean and simple ways to communicate to my leader. Let's say my leader and I need to reschedule our one-on-one or skip it. I can still send them this template, and they can still know that I don't have any escalations and that my projects are green, or they can see an escalation that I might have and kind of skip the green ones and only look at the red items. So I really love this. So I kind of put that same goal we had for the year in here. The project would be patient safety, reducing those line infections. And then our latest tactics would be that we've scheduled a meeting with practice and education for the 5th. And I have a report created with baseline data to send to nurse managers and shift leads. The status is green, and I don't need anything from my OneUp leader. Super helpful, yet super, super simple projects template. The other cool thing I wanted to share with you is that you can actually, like right now, let's see, what am I actually in? So I'm in my desktop app. You can do this in Teams as well, or in the browser. It just depends on what version of Microsoft 365 you have. If you have the paid or most updated version, you can actually have loop components. So they're up here. Insert loop component. I know I love and I preach, and I have videos that I'll link in the description all about Kanban boards. So let's say you want to have a Kanban board for a project. You can make a loop component Kanban board, and you can actually insert it right into your OneNote, which is really, really cool. Instead of having a link to your planner app, Microsoft Planner, you can come here and you can create a new Kanban board right here. And it doesn't have all the same functions as Teams Planner. However, it still has a lot of the same ones that I compared in that other video, like tags and color coding and prioritization. I think it's really slick. You can put due dates in here. You can tag people here. So if you wanted to make me the owner of this project, you could. And loop components are cool. They're components in that they're mobile and they don't have to be permanent. So you can copy this component. You can throw it in a Teams chat. So let's say I wanted to message myself. I can literally just chat with myself. All right, so this is so nice because you can just paste it right into the chat. It can live in OneNote. It can live in the chat here. It can live in the browser if you click that to open it. And then you can be simultaneously editing it with someone else, and you can move it around and share the control the sharing permissions. So that is something new that you can do within OneNote. You can also just delete it out. You can add other things like beautiful checklists. There's some really nice templates that come with components. Let's see, what's another cool one? Task lists are really nice too, because it's more than a checklist. It also has a spot to assign people, kind of like I showed you in the Kanban board. So you can assign myself, you can pick the due date for tomorrow. You can make different buckets like to do or for tomorrow. I don't know what you want to. So I really love using loop components. I don't know if everyone has this functionality, so I didn't go ahead and add any, but it would be best if you added it for yourself. That way it's in your own OneNote 3 Office 365 cloud. But this is really nice because it lives right inside OneNote rather than having to go out to the Planner app. All right, let's talk about areas. I talked a little bit about them already, how let's say I am a lab leader and I have multiple lab departments. Areas would be multiple like responsibilities that you have. Like let's say blood bank would be one of my departments. I might keep emails, resources, procedures in here that I want to keep track of, decisions. Maybe I want to have a section for budgets or capital planning. And so areas would be anything that's like not a project, but it's a area of your work or section of your work or body of knowledge that you want to keep track of, that you're accountable for. And then resources is kind of like what it sounds like. So resources, I'm giving you ideas. You can put links to standard operating procedures, leadership articles for you to read, inspiration. And then all of the templates that I have showed you here, I've put in here so that you can copy, paste them, duplicate them, as well as some additional ones. I've created out of office plan templates, year-end accomplishments and gratitude worksheets. There's your standard work, your task list, your self-assessment. So you can put any resource you want to keep track of here, as well as the ones that I've copied. Maybe you create a new template and you want to save it. And then as you're doing sort of like your monthly hygiene or your annual hygiene, you can come here and just archive items. So let's say I was like, I'm not really interested in the annual self-assessment anymore. I'm just going to move it to archive. So now it's here. So you can promote it, make it its own page, whatever you want to do. That way it's not like taking up space in your other sections. And you can also bring it back. You can also, it doesn't have to be here forever. So you don't have to delete anything. You can just archive it. All right. And the last thing I wanted to share with you is the annual dashboard. So now that you know all of the different links and sections in the OneNote, this will make a lot more sense. So the annual dashboard is linked to the My Performance tab, the goals, value, impact, the joy folder, all of that. But it's also, so that's kind of the first thing. You want to write a self-assessment of your performance based on the data you've collected and evaluated during the year using those resources. So oftentimes you will be asked to write your own assessment for your leader, which is good. It shows you take control of your own career. So I highly encourage you to do this, even if you're not asked to do it. So I have included the self-assessment here. And this is basically to simplify things for you. So when you're reflecting on each one of your goals, which I do have linked for you, right? You want to ask yourself basically 4 main questions. What was the goal that you set out? Did you review, adjust, or redirect? What did you learn? And how would you rate yourself? Answer these honestly, and you're going to get a good review whether or not you hit the goal. That is my view. If you can be reflective and learn from and how to do better every year, you will have a great review. And it will show you have self-awareness. And one thing you can also optionally ask or respond to is, what's one insight from the goal that you wanted to carry forward into the next year? So if you love this template, it's in here and it can help you do your own self-assessment of your goals. The last kind of 4 things you want to do are just look at these folders. Okay, which projects are still kind of in progress do we want to carry over for next year? So like, for example, in 25, if there are projects that hadn't ended, do we want to carry those over? Do we want to pause them for evaluation, or do we want to deprioritize them and get rid of them? You can also make note of any new projects you know about that are coming in the year, kind of start some new pages in the project section. You can review your area or your team goals. So I've linked the areas section here, and, help your teams evaluate their progress over the last year and the accomplishments that and their accomplishments like you're doing for your own annual goals. You want to take the time annually to duplicate any templates you'll use in the new year, right? So like maybe you want to start a fresh annual goals page. Make sure you do that before you archive the old one or delete it by accident. Maybe start a new value or impact template, or make the colors different for a new year. Make it fun. And then archive, do that hygiene, any retired templates from the past year or things that you just don't need once you've archived, once you've duplicated or created any new templates that you want to use throughout the year. So I believe this is a very comprehensive OneNote dashboard, project and task manager for professionals and leaders that have to manage themselves, lead teams, they're asked to lead projects, show up every day, lead different areas. I think it's a great one-stop hub to have on this daily dashboard. And then sort of how to create your own new buttons linked to various sections, using the loop components if your organization has it, doing those monthly check-ins to make sure you're on track. If you do those things, you will have success annually. So I feel like this template basically helps you have good behaviors in terms of leadership hygiene, follow-up, standard work, and keeps everything organized that has a home without it being too many tabs or sections when it becomes super overwhelming. So let me know in the comments, like, which section is your favorite? Did I miss any templates? Are there any that I should add? Do you not like some of the ways that I've organized it? I would love to hear that. And if you are setting up your own, let me know. But if you would like to grab this template, happy to share it with you. You can grab it in the link in the description, and all you have to do is save it to your downloads or wherever. And then all you would need to do is retrieve it by opening it up in OneNote, and I will include instructions for how to do that. All right. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I will see you for my next tutorial. Bye.